So I'm driving the other night and my girl says to me, Nick, you gotta stop talking about cards. And I said, fine, we gotta put a stop to this. So she unbuckled my seatbelt. I want to start things off today talking about Tainted Sigil. Tainted Sigil is 1 black and a white for an artifact. You can sack this artifact to gain life equal to the amount of life your opponents have lost this turn, which could potentially be a lot of life, especially when you like knock one of those players out, which in a life gain deck, not too hard to get some big life gain combo going off, knock a player out, sack the Tainted, gain 40 plus life, set yourself up to win the game. But my weird brain immediately went to a life gain tie-em deck. Like if you had a tie-em deck based around that, this is actually good because you could just dish out damage, sack your Sigil, gain a bunch of life, and then use tie-em to remove some counters, replay Sigil, crack it to gain a bunch of life, rinse and repeat as many times as you can do during a turn. Pair this with something like, I don't know, Sanguine Bond, and you could be doing some pretty good damage outside of the combo itself that Sanguine Bond has in every deck. This could also provide a pretty good source of damage. Laid to Rest is 3 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a human you control is put into the graveyard, draw a card, and whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it dies, gain 2 life. This is Underran for 2 reasons. 1, it reads like a tribal human card, which, I mean, it is good in those decks, and 2, gaining life as the reward for having 1/1s on stuff that's dying, not really a good reward. I totally get that. Kind of just erase that second part. Just that's not really there. We're gonna focus on the whenever a human we control dies, we draw a card. This is actually really good if your commander just makes human tokens. Like if you're in the green-white Tauren's deck, you're making tons of human tokens, and if those die, now you're drawing a ton of cards. Or if you're in like a mid-power level Aragorn, the Uniter deck, I don't know if those even exist, this could be good because he also makes human tokens. You'll be drawing cards for those dying. Funnily enough, my friend Deegan runs both those decks, so I mean, maybe. Here you go, Deegan. Although he's becoming a little CEDH spike, so I don't know if you'll have time for little obscure cards like this anymore. What happened to the Viral days? What happened to the Shatter Gang days? You changed. Killing me on turn 3 with Sisay. Let's talk about Theft of Dreams. I think I talked about this back when I was doing daily card highlights, and I'm going to start weaving some of those back into these lists because that was when I had like 2K people on the channel. We've got like 10,000 more people here now. So I'm going to start weaving these back into the channel. This one's a gnarly one. 2 and a blue, sorcery. Draw a card for each tapped creature target player controls. This is one of those ones where you almost feel like you misread it. No, you read it right. If there's a token deck at the table that just swung at you with 14 1/1s, go ahead and drop that during your turn and draw 14 cards for 3. That's pretty good. Even if there's 2 creatures tapped, this is just a divination at its worst. If there's 4, that's 3 mana to draw 4. That's a good going rate. I don't know if you've heard, that's a good going rate. Not a ton to say here. Really strong card advantage if you're in a creature heavy play group or you find yourself versing creature decks a lot. I would give this a try. I'm going to be throwing it into my Taval deck. I'm running Quick Study in a couple of my decks, so I'm going to be taking those out for this and trying it out. It just seems pretty good. Next, I want to talk about a card that I actually posed for the artist to paint. I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but I was involved in the creation of this artwork. Transit Mage. Back when I had my hair shaved, I actually posed for this card, ripping a guitar. I think it came out pretty good. Transit Mage gets far less respect than all of its other Mage-y brothers like Trinket Mage and stuff like that, and I think that's heresy. I think it's absolute betrayal. The other ones search for some cheap artifacts. I get that that's a little bit spikier. It's a little bit better. This one searches for 4 or 5 drops, so hey, if you want to grab that Panharmonicon, you grab that Panharmonicon. If you want to grab that, I don't know, 1 ring, go grab the 1 ring. You know what I mean? Maybe this isn't as casual as you guys thought it was. Even something as simple as like a Solemn in a casual commander play group, not a bad mana curve. Turn 3 transit into turn 4 Solemn into turn 5 6 drop. I know it's a little fair for some of you. I know. I think there's a lot of like fun casual stuff you can grab with this card, and if you're in a blink deck, you can grab a bunch of that stuff by blinking Transit Mage. Just a suggestion, you know what I mean? If you're super spiky, maybe outside of getting the 1 ring, there's not a ton of use here. If you're more casual to like mid power level, mid high power level, I think this is fine. I think there's plenty of good stuff you can find. Next, I want to talk about Powderganger. Yeah, this is just a red Rex Sage, except it doesn't remove enchantments, but the trade-off is it has squad for 2. So as many times as you're willing to pay an additional 2 when you cast this, you'll get that many tokens that are copies of it. This seems like a great way to handle multiple artifact threats. Again, you can blink the original one to keep destroying stuff, which is always nice. If you're in a token deck that runs stuff like Doubling Season, you'll get double the amount that you squatted for, which is awesome. And again, these are tokens, so stuff like Harvest Season, I think that's what it's called, or Abundant Harvest, whatever the 2 and 2 green make a token for each token you control card is. That's great, because you can just get even more of these. Definitely a good one. I think you guys should check it out. Along with our next one, Maraganda petroglyphs. Sorry if I butchered that name. It's kind of a fake word anyway, so it doesn't really matter. 3 and a green for an enchantment. Creatures with no abilities get +2/+2. This will buff all of your tokens with no abilities, as long as you're not making like 1/1 birds with flying or like soldiers with vigilance. As long as they're vanilla tokens, they will get a +2/+2 buff for 4 mana. This is a global effect, so everyone's vanilla creatures get +2/+2. So you could put this into like a group hug deck where you're trying to give other people tokens with stuff like maybe a Crow and Horse. But I really do think this shines in just a token deck where you're running vanilla creatures, and also obviously the bear deck. If you're just in a deck that is a bear deck, just running as many vanilla creatures as possible, this is clearly going to be great. I think 4 mana to give a 2/2 buff though in a token deck is actually an incredibly strong going rate. That'll probably take out a player or two the turn you play it, as well as providing that buff permanently until someone gets rid of it. So I think it's pretty solid. As do I think Junkjet is solid. I don't even know if that was English. Junkjet is definitely very good though. For 1 and a red, we get an equipment that equips for 1. We always love when equipment's equipped for cheap. That's always a good sign of a good equipment. When it enters, we get a junk token, and we can pay 3 mana to sacrifice another artifact and double the equipped creature's power. So if you're in a, I don't know, treasure deck, this is nuts. We all know how easy it is to get big mana outside of treasures with stuff like Bergie or Jessica's Will, but if you're in a treasure deck, even easier to get big mana. You could dump a ton of mana into this, crack 3 or 4 tokens, and your commander, or whatever big thing you want to be swinging with, is easily big enough to take someone out. Let's say like Magda. If you're in the Magda deck, you're getting a bunch of dragons, you're making a bunch of treasures, you can now throw this onto one of your dragons, stack your treasures to be doubling that dragon's power and toughness. I think that could take some people out for sure. Definitely a good card. As is Isolated Watchtower, which is a land that taps for a colorless. It enters untapped. You can pay 2 and tap it, scry 1, then reveal the top card of your library. If that card's a land, you may put it into play tapped as long as a player controls 2 more lands than you. So I don't really have to spell this one out for you. Mono white is pretty much where this is going to shine. Maybe even a mono blue deck. I feel like you have enough card draw in blue to see the little mana rocks that you would run in that deck. Mono white, I think this is really going to thrive because you don't have a lot of card draw and you're not going to have a lot of mana ramp. The mana ramp you do have is going to be rocks, so if there's any green table at the deck, I think you can get this thing to consistently fire off for you. There is countless games, even outside of a mono white deck, where I would have killed to have this land, where I'm just getting mana screwed off top, and this land would have came in extremely helpful, even outside of the putting a land into play. Just being able to like scry with it at the end of people's turns to help me get a land possibly is useful. Not a lot to say here. If you're in the mono white deck, again, possibly mono blue, but there's a lot of card draw in a mono blue deck, mainly mono white. I would try this out. And finally for this video, I want to talk about Fumulus, the Infestation. I think he's from Battle Bond, so that might be an explanation for why he's so underplayed. For 3 and a black, we get a 2/2 flying death touch. Whenever a player sacrifices a non-token creature, we get a 1/1 insect with flying, and then whenever like slugs, insects, it's like a bunch of gross stuff. We really only care about the insects. Whenever they attack, the opponents lose 1 and we gain 1. So if we get a lot of insects, we're going to be draining a ton, hitting for flyers, having really good blockers as well. All this just for players sacrificing creatures. So if you're in the aristocrat deck and you plan on sacking a lot of non-token creatures in that deck, this will be pumping out a ton of tokens, which you can then follow up and sacrifice as well to trigger all your death trigger stuff like your blood artist and things like that. Or if you just happen to be sitting at a lot of tables with aristocrat decks or a lot of people sacrificing creatures, this could just be passively firing off for other players as well. This is my favorite kind of card. If you watch my channel, you know I absolutely love cards that just passively produce tokens. If those tokens can be 1/1 flyers, that's the best. Bitter Blossom's one of my favorite cards of all time. And with more and more sacrifice-based creatures getting introduced to the game, I think this is just going to get stronger and stronger over time. Not to even mention this as a commander, like as an aristocrat commander, could definitely be extraordinarily strong. But again, like all the cards on these lists, just some stuff that's under 10K that I felt the need to shout out to you guys. So with that, if there's any of these cards on this list that you personally have played and you found out that you loved or hated, please drop a comment. And if there's any cards that you want to see in the next list, maybe consider becoming a patron. It starts as low as $1, where you can suggest weekly cards for these lists. Speaking of which, this week's suggestion comes from Aaron Allard, who suggests Kami of False Hope, which is essentially a white spore frog. You can sack it, prevent all combat damage, and as Aaron says, it is in white, which makes it inherently better than spore frog because there is tons of recursion pieces that bring back small creatures in white, Sun Titan, Slavine's Reclamation, so you can way more consistently reuse this in one of those decks. Absolutely love the suggestion, Aaron. Appreciate you a ton. I've also opened up members for YouTube, so if you want to become a YouTube member, it's all the same rewards as over on Patreon. It just might be easier for some of you. And be sure to join the Discord down below for free. With that, I'm going to get out of your hair, get back to editing. I'll see you guys next time.